What they tell us is when I open my phone and I look in the app, I need to know where is my dog now. Not where was my dog 6 seconds ago or 20 seconds ago, but where is it right now? And that's very, very important.
Well, hey, everyone. Welcome back to Woof Wisdom. I'm Matthew Pierce, and I got a really exciting guest today. I'm really glad to have him on. It's Halo Co-Founder and Partner Michael Ehrman, and we're talking about the brand new Halo Collar 5. Michael, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you, Matthew. I'm very excited to be here.
I know you know this stuff inwards and outwards, and you figured it out. So I'm excited that you're here to explain it to us. Tell us about the Halo Collar 5. Why now? Why this release? And what's new with the Halo Collar 5?
Well, Matthew, we at Halo are really intent on delivering the best product to our customers, really in every way, and to continue to maintain the technological advantage that we have in this industry. And one of the ways we do that is through continuous improvement of the hardware. Obviously, we also include continuous improvement of our software, our app as well. And being part of the Halo ecosystem means getting access to the best technology available in the industry all the time.
Yeah.
The Halo Collar 5 is just our latest and best incarnation of the Halo Collar. It looks a lot like the Halo Collar 4 on the outside, but the differences are really on the inside. The way we do that is we are constantly keeping up with and utilizing the best available technology, the best available chips, the best available software and techniques, and embedding that in a new design. And we've been working on the Halo Collar 5 for a while now. We're very excited to bring it to market. And it just brings what the Halo Collar 4 did, and then a lot of improvement on top of that. So you won't see anything sacrificed. You'll only see improvement over the Halo Collar 4 in very important areas. And we listen to our customers. They tell us their feedback. They tell us what's important to them. And based on that, we're always trying to improve the performance of the Halo Collar to make it work better for you, work better for your dog.
It's amazing. I mean, it's just like your phone, right? Where it gets better all the time. It does more things. It gives you more information. And I mean, when I first saw the Halo Collar, I thought, it's a dog collar, but really it's sophisticated tech. And you kind of need to look at it that way. So I see in this, I think you guys should consult with the phone manufacturers because the location updates 20 times a second now. That's My wife, I tell her to pick me up at the airport. I'm like, she's not even coming because it's like 8 minutes ago when she left the house. This is incredible. 20 times a second. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think location is obviously a very key part to what the Halo Collar does. It uses GPS to know where your dog is at all times. That information comes from satellites in space and is calculated on the device. And that location tells the collar, okay, the dog is in this location at this exact time.
Yeah.
Well, the more often you look at that information, the more precise that location information is. So if I look, for example, at the location every second, and my dog is running at 20 feet per second, which is really not very fast for a dog, then each time I look at the location, my dog may have moved 20 feet. Mm. So if you think about it that way, if a dog is running and we at one point in time think your dog is located in one location and then had to wait 1 second to check that information again, now your dog is 20 feet away from where it previously was. And that causes a lot of issues to our end users. It causes issues enforcing boundaries for the dog. So let's talk about each one. When it comes to the end user, they want to be able to open their app and see their dog in real time all the time. They don't want to use special tracking modes. They don't want to have to look at one dog at a time if they have more than one dog. They want to just know that when they open their app and look at their phone, what they see is what's happening now. And the more often we provide that information to your phone, the more real time the information is, the more accurate the information is we're telling you. And that's really the key to location accuracy from the customer's perspective. What they tell us is when I open my phone and I look in the app, I need to know where is my dog now, not where was my dog 6 seconds ago or 20 seconds ago, but where is it right now? And that's very, very important.
That's a really good distinction because I hadn't really thought about that until you mentioned it. I'm thinking about this in human terms, right? Humans walk, they go, dogs are fast. They
Yes,
get around
dogs are
quick.
very
That
fast.
makes sense that you need to update this so quickly. How do you all even test this, in the real world?
Right. Well, as you said, real dogs do things that are a little different than people, and they're a lot faster, and they move in different directions, and you'll see them zigzagging and doing things that are a little bit unique. So a lot of testing is done on dogs, but primarily this goes back to the design. I think it's understanding dogs, understanding how they work, how they move, and constantly striving to provide the best solution through design, through good design. So in this case, it's clear to us, or it has become clear to us, that the more often we analyze location, the more quickly we get it to the user. In both scenarios, that's providing a better, more real-time experience, both to give feedback to your dog if it's getting to a place it shouldn't go, like approaching a boundary. It should be as quick as possible. It should be as accurate as possible. And number two is giving that same information to you, the end user, in real time when you're looking at the app. So to test this, we put it through a lot of scenarios of real use cases, test use cases, things that aren't so obvious or are typical. And once we've tested it ourselves through, let's call it field testing, we also start to deploy this functionality to customers. So we've actually had Halo Collar 5s in customer hands for over a month now. And we've been gathering data on all of those Halo Collar 5s, getting customer feedback on how it's performing for them, and listening to what they have to say and continually improving it along the way before we release it to market.
It's amazing. I foster dogs, and there's new dogs coming over all the time. My wife brings them home, and I'm like, oh no, another dog. And the Halo Collar saved my life a couple times. The dogs have just gotten out. You don't know the dog. The first thing I try to do is spend a little time with them, introduce them to the collar, and then it's pretty much go because there's not much time to work with it. And it's been amazing. A lot of that has to come with, just the terrain that you're in. I know there's dual frequency GPS, L1, L5. Mm-hmm. Honestly, a lot of this doesn't make total sense to me. Can you kind of explain it in layman's terms why this is all important?
Basically, the way GPS works is these satellites are constantly moving around in the sky, in space, and they do that for a very good reason, which is you're never permanently blocked from a particular satellite. It will always pass by at some point across the sky. Mm-hmm. So the more satellites you can perceive, though, the better you can, and more accurately you can, think of it as triangulate, but it's multilaterate your position. So you want a lot of satellites, and Halo delivers the most satellites available. But you also would like to listen to those satellites on more than one frequency. And there's a couple of good reasons for that. Originally, most receivers only listened on a channel called L1, which is the most basic channel out there. It was the original channel. And that gives you access to the information from the satellite in one way. Updated satellites use more bands, and the L5 band has a lot of technology advantages over the L1 band. It has a much faster data rate, and what that translates to is more accuracy at the receiver. So the more you can use the L5 channel, the more accurate your location and positioning is. And by having two channels, L1 and L5, from the same satellite at the same time, the Halo can distinguish and resolve issues such as something famous called multipath, where signals are bouncing off of things. And now, because you're receiving data from the same satellite on two frequencies, it helps the receiver distinguish which is the true line of sight signal, which is the one that's bouncing off an obstacle. Yeah. So there's a lot of advantages to dual frequency. Ultimately, it results in accuracy.
Amazing. Well, one thing that I think we all can relate to for a fact, we've all had this experience, is the battery life, right? Because that has been a major improvement too. And you say up to 48 hours on a single charge?
Yes. So again, that's another thing that Halo spends a lot of time on. We know it's important to the customer, our customers, to get the most battery life out of the product possible. But we also have to keep in mind that Halo is a very active device. It's not a tracker, although it does tracking better than any other product out there. But it's not just a tracker. It's really actively monitoring continuously, like we talked about, 20 times per second, where your dog is. So no tracker does anything like that. But to do that and have a long battery is very, very hard. So Halo prides itself on both providing the best possible performance while at the same time giving the longest possible battery life. And it's not easy to do that. And we keep coming up with new ways to do that. And the Halo Collar 5 has a bunch of improvements included that let it achieve up to 48-hour battery life. We've been seeing some users with their Halo Collar 5s getting 50 or 60 hours of battery life, some getting less than 48. It really does depend a little bit on what your dog is doing. We could talk about that later. But 48 is typical, and we're very excited to deliver that.
I mean, for me, I take the collar off, I charge it at night, I put it back on in the morning. But there are times when maybe I'm going to go camping and I don't really have access to a charger. So the 48 hours could be a big deal. Also, I had a dog, honestly, that did not like a collar put on her. A 48-hour break would have been nice. So I could see where certain applications, I mean, it feels good to have, a half full battery at the end of the day,
Right. I think also my thought process is you want to get into a good habit of charging it every day, charging it at night. That's the best case, use case. But it doesn't always happen, right? You forget, or you plug it in and maybe it didn't make a good connection. You wake up the next morning, you don't want to show up with a dead battery. So I think this gives also forgiveness. Our users are people. So things happen. And that way, the next morning, if something didn't happen, you didn't get to charge it the night before, you still have the whole next day to use it. So I think that's, to me, the most important part.
And not to mention, I think, if I'm reading this right, it charges much quicker now, right? Up just an hour or so to charge your. Yeah,
that's true. The charge rate is a tricky thing, because if you overcharge a battery, if you charge it too quickly, you're going to diminish the life of the battery. So we have to be very careful to implement a mechanism to charge it faster. And now it charges twice as fast without degrading or impacting the life cycle of the battery. And that's, again, a tricky thing. We kind of pushed it to the limit. So we're giving you about a 1 hour full charge instead of what was typically about a 2-hour charge.
Got it. Yeah. So next thing I want to talk about is connectivity and stability. I've learned to appreciate this because I have a large overhang to my deck, right? So there's not always GPS, although I think it actually works fine. But there's Wi-Fi built in too. So when you're indoors, you have that connectivity as well.
Right. And that's actually related back to battery life. So when it comes to communicating information from the collar to your phone, we really have 3 technologies inside. We have Bluetooth, we have Wi-Fi, and we have LTE. This is different than other products on the market, which may have Bluetooth and LTE, but very few, if any, have Wi-Fi. But Wi-Fi is actually very important for a few reasons. One is when you're indoors, LTE coverage is not so great. It can be easily blocked based on what your home is made out of. Certainly if you're inside in, for example, a basement or something like that, we want the collar to be working all the time. It's not only intended to be used outdoors. It has uses indoors as much as it does also have uses outdoors. So the ability to communicate indoors is very important. You want to open your app and see where your dog is when you're not home. And if your dog happens to be indoors, you want to know. So you want to be able to communicate indoors. You want to get real-time updates and real-time status, whether your dog's indoors or outdoors. So Wi-Fi works great indoors, while LTE works pretty well outdoors. If we can use Wi-Fi, not only is it much more reliable indoors, but it also extends the battery life significantly. So as a customer, we really encourage our customers to set up Wi-Fi, at least in their home, so that the collar can leverage Wi-Fi while your dog is home, which is where it spends most of its time. And that's going to really get you to your 48-hour typical battery life. If you're relying exclusively on LTE, it does eat into the battery life because if you think about it, when the collar tries to transmit information and get it to the internet, if it's on Wi-Fi, it's only going a few hundred feet or maybe 50 feet to get to the access point in your house. But when you're on cellular, you need to get that communication to the nearest cell tower. And the nearest cell tower could be 5-10 miles away. So it requires a lot more power to reach the cell tower. So each transmission will eat into the battery more when you're on cellular than on Wi-Fi. It's also, like I said, much less reliable than Wi-Fi is, especially when you're indoors. So taking advantage of that, and in the Halo Collar 5, we're really enhancing the way we do Wi-Fi. We've always had Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and LTE, but the Halo Collar 5 does it better. And it actually will extend the battery life even further. That's one of the keys to how we extended the battery life. And it's more reliable Wi-Fi than we had with the Halo Collar 4.
Michael, I feel like I'm learning a lot. Not just about the Halo Collar, but just how things work in general. And really thought about many of these things. One of the things, though, that I had thought about, because I had this experience, was that the Halo works on multiple cellular networks, right? My parents live up in the boondocks, and I can't get my cell phone to work, but the Halo Collar works.
So, yeah, there's technology embedded in the Halo Collar that we've been using since the Halo Collar 3, which, by the way, we continue to optimize and enhance. But what it lets us do is pick the best carrier wherever we are. You don't need to do a thing. The collar will analyze all the nearby cell towers, the carriers that are available, and pick the one that is best. And by best, it usually means the closest, the strongest signal, the most available, and then connect to it. And you don't need to make decisions. It will do it on its own. So if you happen to live somewhere where AT&T is working best, it will connect on AT&T. If your dog goes for a walk with you or a drive and it's out on the highway and it has better ability to communicate over T-Mobile, it'll switch to T-Mobile or to Verizon. So these are things that happen automatically. It happens in the background. And by the way, it communicates globally. So if you take your dog on vacation, you go to another country, you will have, almost definitely you'll have connectivity in that foreign country. When we look at a map of where people are taking their Halos and their dogs, you will see them in almost every country in the world. So it really just is a testament to the fact that the technology embedded in Halo is extremely advanced and does things your phone can't even do. So it is, I do like to say that Halo is like the iPhone for dogs. It really is intended to be your dog's smartphone. It's not just a GPS fence, although it does that amazingly well. It's really the device that allows you to see where your dog is, communicate to your dog anytime, anywhere, the same way your children or your family members walk around with their phones.
Really amazing. You just got to put a speaker in it so we can talk on it next.
Right.
Well,
it has a speaker. That is something that it can do, and at some point it will do.
All right. Well, I was joking, but you guys are always innovating, so who knows what's going to be next. Let's talk about how strong this is, because I think that also is really sets it apart. It's really a differentiation between some of the other collars I've looked at. We've got a cover that goes over this. One thing I've noticed with some of the other collars is dogs can actually get caught in the branches, because this is a very smooth type cover. Of course, it's waterproof, right? It's got the magnetic charger right here. What am I missing?
Well, I think
durability of this.
To summarize, it's taken us a long time. This is an area that's very challenging. Dogs are not. There's no standard for how to design a product that's going to work on a dog, believe it or not. And it's not easy to have something that will last. And to be honest, Halo is still working on ways to make it last better and last longer. That's very important. We do stand behind the product. So when there are issues, if there are issues, then we stand behind our product. But we work very hard to make sure that the Halo will last and will be rugged and work on your dog, whatever happens with your dog. But dogs do things like you just said. They will run through thicket, for example, and things get caught on it. Or they will play with another dog who likes to bite the collar on the other dog. So or they like to scratch the collar. So these are things that are hard to deal with from a mechanical design perspective, but they're very important. And we don't want the collar to break. Whether the dog goes swimming in the ocean, which we really encourage them to do. Those are difficult environments to survive and continue to work well through those environments. So the mechanical design of the Halo, even though the Halo Collar 5 and Halo Collar 4 look very similar, we're constantly striving to make it stronger, more long-lasting, and we do that in every little piece that you look at, and we're continuing to do it.
You guys thought of it all. I did my little small, not very scientific test, but I left the collar out in the rain. It was a pouring rain all day long. Took it, toweled it off a little bit, and nothing happened. So of course, I know you guys, it could be submersed in the water, but I was impressed even with that because your dog wouldn't be out in the rain all day, but it still worked perfect. Well, Michael, lots of good information, lots of good improvements for Halo Collar 5. I want to have you on again to talk about more of these upgrades, but just really how it all works in the real world when you're taking hikes with your dog, when you're going swimming in the ocean, all of that. So we're going to have a part 2 if you can join us again.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Matthew. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So if you liked this video, we hope you did. Don't miss part 2 and give us a thumbs up and subscribe. And we'll see you soon here on Woof Wisdom.